We sift through the sources, pull out the key knowledge, and basically give you a shortcut to being genuinely well-informed. Today, we're really digging into William Wordsworth, specifically his pull out the key. Welcome to the deep dive. We sift through the sources, pull out the key knowledge, and basically give you a shortcut to being genuinely well-informed. Today, we're really digging into William Wordsworth, specifically his revolutionary ideas about poetry in the preface to Lyrical Ballads.
It's fascinating stuff because, when you think poetry, you might picture something really elaborate, maybe a bit stuffy.
Right, very formal language, maybe.
Exactly. But Wordsworth just completely upended that. He was reacting against all that artificiality, the kind of grand, heroic themes you saw everywhere in the 18th century.
So he wasn't a fan of the status quo.
Not at all. He wanted poetry to get back to, well, nature, simplicity, the real powerful feelings of everyday life. Our mission today is to unpack how he did that, how he redefined poetry itself, and, importantly, the role of the poet, and even your role as the reader.
Okay, so we'll look at how the poet actually creates what Wordsworth thought their responsibility was.
And crucially, where you, the reader, fit into this whole picture. It's quite a shift he proposed.
Let's start with the creative process, then. He famously called poetry the spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings. Sounds a bit wild, maybe.
It does sound like just letting it all out, doesn't it?
Hmm.
But the thing is, Wordsworth was actually incredibly precise about this. It wasn't about chaos. He laid out this almost methodical four-stage journey.
4 stages, okay. Not just a sudden burst of inspiration, then.
No, not quite. It starts logically enough with observation.
Okay.
This is that initial moment. The poet sees something, experiences something, usually in nature for Wordsworth, that triggers a really strong emotion.
Like him seeing the daffodils with his sister Dorothy. That's the classic example, right?
Exactly that. That direct, vivid experience, that's the spark, the raw feeling.
But he doesn't just sit down and write the poem right there in the field.
No, and that's key. That leads to the second stage, recollection. This happens later. The poet is calm, maybe back home, in tranquility, as he put it.
Ah, the famous emotion recollected in tranquility.
That's the one. The poet reflects on that initial experience. The intense feeling hasn't gone, but maybe it's mellowed a bit. Becomes something they can look at, understand better.
So it's like processing the emotion, not just feeling it raw, but thinking about it later.
Precisely. It's re-experiencing it, but with distance, with reflection. It allows for a deeper dive into what that feeling actually was.
And that's what happens in I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud, isn't it? He's lying on his couch, and the memory just flashes upon that inward eye. It's the memory, the recollection, that brings the joy back.
Perfectly put. And that reflective state flows right into stage 3, contemplation.
Okay, so after recollecting.
The mind actively works on that remembered feeling. It refines it, sort of purifies it. The poet starts to grasp its deeper meaning, its significance. It's less about the raw feeling now and more about the insight behind the feeling.
So understanding why it mattered, perhaps.
Exactly. Unpacking the meaning.
Mm.
And only then, after all that internal work, do we get to the final stage. Composition.
Finally writing the poem.
Yes. And crucially, Wordsworth insisted the language should be simple, natural as the original feeling, ideally. The goal isn't to show off with fancy words, it's to genuinely convey that purified emotion.
Which explains why I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud feels so direct, so honest. It's just describing that simple joy.
Absolutely. The power is in its sincerity, not its complexity. It was revolutionary at the time. He wasn't picturing some elevated genius talking down to everyone. He saw the poet as fundamentally an ordinary person, just maybe with a bit more sensitivity, someone using language that everyday people actually use and understand.
So ditching the overly formal academic style.
Completely. Think about his poem, The Solitary Reaper. He's just observing this young woman sitting in a field, finding incredible beauty and meaning in her ordinary song. It's relatable.
And that connects to another point, right? Revealing the beauty in common life.
Absolutely. He believed it was vital to show the extraordinary in the ordinary, to focus on the lives, the feelings of shepherds, farmers, rural people figures, often ignored by the high art of the time.
He thought their experiences were just as poetic.
Even more so sometimes. He felt their connection to nature and their simpler lives held profound truths. Look at We Are Seven. It's about a little country girl's very natural, almost innocent view of life and death. Wordsworth presents her simple understanding as potentially deeper than adult logic.
So by sharing these simple stories, these purified emotions, what's the goal?
It's about helping to purify and enlighten. By sharing these carefully processed emotions, the poet helps you, the reader, connect with your own feelings, understand the world, maybe feel more connected to nature and other people.
So poetry becomes a kind of emotional education, a moral guide almost.
In a way, yes. He saw it as a force to resensitize people, especially as society was becoming more industrial, more materialistic. It's about fostering empathy, reconnecting us to our basic humanity.
Okay, so the poet has this huge role, but you mentioned earlier that the reader is also key. That sounds different.
It really is. Wordsworth didn't see reading as passive at all. He put a lot of responsibility onto you, the reader. It's a partnership.
A partnership. How so? What does the reader need to do?
Well, first off, you need to be open-minded. You had to be willing to let go of your expectations about what poetry should sound like or be about. Forget the epic battles or gods for a moment. Be ready for simple subjects, everyday language.
So meet the poem on its own terms, basically.
Exactly. And that means you also need to engage with empathy. You can't just skim the words. You have to actively use your imagination,
Yeah.
try to connect with the feelings being expressed.
Like with Tintern Abbey. You need to bring your own experiences of nature, your own memories, to really get it.
Precisely. The poem is almost an invitation for your reflection. It needs your participation to fully come alive.
Okay. Open-mindedness, empathy. Anything else?
Yes. The final piece is about being willing to find truth in simplicity. Wordsworth genuinely believed that the biggest truths, the deepest beauty, often lie in the most humble places expressed in simple words. You have to be willing to see the profound in the plain.
So it requires a certain kind of attention from the reader, a willingness to look deeper than the surface.
Absolutely. It's an active, thoughtful engagement.
So wrapping this up, it seems Wordsworth really did reshape things. His vision of poetry transforms the everyday, makes big ideas feel personal and accessible.
Definitely. That preface is such a powerful statement. It's a call for poetry rooted in real feeling, in nature, in the lives of ordinary people. A huge shift. He basically democratized poetry, didn't he? Moving the focus from the grand and distant to the immediate, the internal.
And he sees the poet as a guide, the poem as this vessel for emotion.
And you, the reader, as this essential active partner. It's all about discovering beauty and truth together, right there in the everyday world.
It really makes you think, if poetry is this collaborative act, as Wordsworth saw it, how might that idea stretch beyond poems? How could you, maybe inspired by this, actively look for and find that profound truth, that beauty, hidden in the simple, ordinary moments of your own life?